What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and the FPI rankings came out last week. We're going to break down Michigan's ranking. The FBI not very high on the Wolverines. So we're going to show you exactly where they have them finishing, what their record is expected to be, their chances to make the playoff, chances to win the Big Ten championship game, get to the Big Ten championship game, all of that. And we're going to take a look at that. So let's start with their ranking. Number 40. I was a bit surprised that they were this low. I realized last year was an awful year, but you still have to look at Michigan as being, one of the more talented teams in college football. And so I think at number 40, a little bit low. I don't see this as a top 25 team, but I thought the FBI would probably have them a little bit higher, maybe in the 30 to 35 range. But they have a 7.2 FBI, which means against an average team on a neutral field, Michigan would win by a touchdown, 7.2 points. And, of course, the FBI is based off of 20,000 simulations, and they just average all that out and give you these results. So it's interesting to see. It doesn't necessarily tell the whole story, but it's something that I always like to break down. So number 40 in the country, 7.2 FBI. Let's look at the projected record for Michigan. It is 6.4 and 5.7, so roughly 6 and 6, maybe 7 and 5. And that's kind of where I projected this team to be, about a 7 and 5 team. I haven't done any predictions or anything, but I've just kind of projected based off of the schedule, based off of how good each team is expected to be. This is probably a 7 and 5, maybe 8 and 4 team, maybe 6 and 6. So I think the FBI did a pretty good job with that projection. Again, 6.4 and 5.7 doesn't come out exactly to 12 because it does include a potential Big Ten championship game. So they do go all the way through the conference championship games, as that's as far as the FBI goes, because obviously you don't know who's going to play after that in the playoff or bowl games or whatever. So 6.4 and 5.7 for Michigan. That is the projection. Went out to go undefeated. They have a 0% chance. So the FBI doesn't really see any way that Michigan can go undefeated in 2021. I tend to agree with that. I mean, I wouldn't say, never say never, but when you look at the schedule, going undefeated, just beating Ohio State is going to be such a tough task. But outside of Ohio State, you've got other games in there as well. Penn State on the road, Indiana's going to be tough. Michigan State's on the road. Of course, Michigan State beat Michigan last year. You've got Nebraska and Wisconsin on the road, Washington in the non-conference. So running through that schedule and going undefeated, I'm going to agree with that. I really just don't see any path for Michigan to go undefeated. And again, even if they beat everyone else, it's unlikely that they beat Ohio State this year. So to get to a bowl game, they have a 71% chance to go at least 6 and 6, to get at least 6 wins this season. 71% chance. That means there's a 29% chance that Michigan does not make it to a bowl game this year. I think you're pretty safe to get to a bowl game. I mean, there are wins. You've got Western Michigan. You got Northern Illinois. You got 2 wins there. I think Northwestern's going to be down this year. It will be tough. I mean, you look at the schedule. Rutgers is a team that's getting better. Nebraska is on the road. Maryland is on the road. They're getting better. So maybe that's a pretty fair percentage. But you would expect Michigan to at least win enough of these games to get to a bowl game. So I think 71%. It's pretty good for Michigan. I think the FBI has done a pretty good job here. They only give them a 2% chance to win the division, and I tend to agree with that as well. Mostly just because of Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State is sitting there at 71.3%, and then they like Penn State as well. Penn State is at 17.2%. So just those two teams being the favorite, and I think you got to throw Indiana in there as well. Michigan, to me, comes in at number 4 as far as the percent chance that I would have them winning the Big Ten East. So I tend to agree with that as well. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but 2% probably pretty accurate. So that means, how about winning the Big Ten? And that means only a 2% chance to get there, so winning the Big Ten is going to be even lower than that, 0.7%. So that means if you kind of look into this a little further, that means if they did make it to the Big Ten championship game, they would have a less than 50% chance to win that game, because it's under 1 here, which I kind of disagree with. I think Michigan would have a really good shot against any team out of the West. They might be better than any team out of the West. Wisconsin, Iowa, those teams are there, but I don't think Michigan is clearly behind those teams. So, yeah, I think I would probably give them a better chance in that game. But getting to that game, obviously, going to be really tough. And then they don't give them any chance to make the playoff. 0% chance to make the college football playoff. 0% chance, obviously, to make the national championship or win the national championship. So Michigan fans, don't expect a national championship this season. Don't even expect to go to the playoff, according to the FPI. I wouldn't put it at 0 making it to the playoff, especially when you have other teams. For example, Arizona State 0.4%, Northwestern 0.2%. This is a chance to make the playoff. Virginia Tech's at 0.2%. Indiana's at 0.3%. West Virginia 0.1%. When you look at all those other percentages, I think Michigan at least has to have like a 0.1% chance. I mean, it could happen. It is highly, highly, highly unlikely. And again, if you look back to last year and where this team is expected to be this year, plus the schedule, it's really tough. But you never know. I mean, let's say this team does get on a run and they beat everyone but Ohio State on the schedule. That's probably going to be enough to get in the college football playoff. So, again, I think you got to at least give them a 0.1% chance. But, no, the FBI says 0% chance that Michigan makes it to the college football playoff. Number 40 team in the country. Again, I think most of this I would agree with. Maybe I would rank them a little bit higher. I don't know. That's probably pretty fair. And so, I think the FBI did a pretty good job with Michigan. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? Give me your thoughts on the FBI ranking for the Michigan Wolverines here for the preseason of 2021.